Welcome to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV with Amanda Hall Psychic all the way from the Gold Coast here in Australia. It's a beautiful autumn day here, a little bit crisp in the mornings, but that's the way we like it, I suppose, as we head towards winter, which is not my favourite time of the year. But anyway, let's keep the show moving along. So this week's Simply Tarot card of the week is the Ace of Swords. Now, a lot of people look at this card and go, oh, no, I don't think I like this one. And it can be a little bit of what seems to be a negative sort of card. Anytime we work with the swords cards in the tarot deck, it is sort of asking us to look at something that may be from not so much a positive angle, but looking at whatever the frustrations are or the situations that we need to change in our lives. So the Ace of Swords is no different. It's the card of frustration. It can also be the card of the double-edged sword, because if you look closely at the sword, you can see one side we've got a lot of green foliage and on the other side we've got a lot less. So it's sort of like the double-edged sword. It could go either way. And it can be the card of hollow victory. Now, I know in all the years that I was teaching, my students would look at me and say, what does that mean, Amanda, a hollow victory? Well, to put it in very simple terms, sometimes when we work really hard and really diligently about bringing changes into our lives or achieving something, that when we actually achieve it, we think, oh, is that all? Oh, I thought I'd feel happier, or I thought I'd feel more excited, or I thought I'd feel more elated. And it's sort of like a little bit of a disappointment in a sense. It's like I didn't feel as I thought I would feel. So after we've done all that work and effort on the situation and bringing changes into our lives, then sometimes it sort of feels a little bit flat. So that's what a hollow victory means. So we're going to keep the show moving along. This week we're going to be talking about the sun in Taurus. Now, it's the Taurian time of the year, and I know a lot of people sort of say to me, well, that doesn't really affect me, I'm not a Taurus. Well, actually it does. As the sun progresses around the zodiac, it does affect each and every one of us, disregarding what our sun sign is. We all tune into the energy that is current, and at the moment it's the Taurus energy. Now, the Taurian energy is the second sign of the zodiac, but it's also asking us to sort of take a deep breath and exhale slowly and just slow down, allowing ourselves to feel the energy and sort of not to be in such a frantic pace as we were last month, in a hurry to get everything done and started and sort of running around without catching our breath. This time we're asked to sort of slow down marginally, catch our breath, look at the things that are important to us in our lives. Now, for some people, they sort of say to me, look, it's a time of the year, Amanda, where I try and reorganise my finances, look at where my financial situation hopefully is heading for the next 12 months. They review, insurance policies, utility bills, anything that's of a major importance connected to their finances and their financial direction for the future. Other people, it's a time when they make major decisions like purchasing a new car or a new home or something that's a major sort of purchase. And for others of us, it's just the time when we sort of reorganise our lives and look at what's important to us and release anything that's not. I know for me, the Taurian time of the year it associates with the cooler months here in Australia. And I sort of always look at it and I think, okay, it's time to sort of reorganise how I look at my life. It's a time to slow down, sort of take a little bit of a recap, look at my finances, look at my diet, look at how much I've achieved in this last 12 months. Is there anything that I need to change? Is there anything I need to let go of? Is it time to sort of revisit, where my money's being spent? Is there ways that I can conserve money, spend less? I mean, we all want to do that. And then we've got more money to play with the things that we really do want to do. But it's also a time, I think, to be very aware of how your energy is feeling. And for a lot of us that, have such very busy lives or might work with people, it's a time to sort of really re-energize your aura. And there's a simple method of being able to do that, whether you have a bathtub or not. It's the time to get a good supply of Epsom salts. And if you have a bathtub, throw a handful or two in the bath with your favourite bubble bath or your bath bomb and just sort of relax in it and let, the Epsom salts or the magnesium soak into your skin, because that cleanses your aura and clears your thinking and re-energizes you. But for those of you that don't have a bathtub or don't want to use a bathtub, a bucket of water, a dish, a foot spa, anything will do the same job, and sort of put your feet in there while you're watching your favourite show or listening to a little bit of music. So that's sort of just my psychic tip for the week. So this week we're going to be talking about we always feature an astrological sign each week where we pick a famous person, and we've been working with famous actors and actresses, and we're up to the final sign of Pisces. And this week I'm really excited to talk about Ron Howard. Now, for most of you that say, oh, that name sounds familiar, if I mention Richie Cunningham from Happy Days and the Fonz, the little red-headed guy that seemed to be always straight-laced and wanting to do the right thing and sort of trying to always bring Fonzie back into being, very conscientious and doing the right thing, and dear old Fonz would just snap his fingers and all these beautiful babes had run to his, no matter where he was, whether he was in his office or what he was doing. And poor Richie was sort of like the brother that sort of, everybody liked him, but nobody really wanted to date him. He was Fonz's best mate, but at the same time he was a little bit too straight-laced and sort of always thinking and trying to be a good boy and, going through his awkward teenage years with his sister who wanted to be a bit of a rebel. So, and he was also OP on the Andy Griffin Show, and I was going to mention that. I thought that might be showing my age a little bit, saying the Andy Griffin Show, but he was on the Andy Griffin Show and he was the son on that show. And Andy Griffith's show is one of my favourite shows even today. I still go back and watch Matlock on the DVD with Andy Griffith in it. I think he was amazing actor. I just loved anything that he was in. So for those of you that were big fans of Ron Howard, Ron Howard did go on to, and he still is today, one of the most amazing directors that we've ever seen in film. He seems to be able to bring a story to life, and that doesn't surprise me with him being a Pisces, because he has that wonderful creative flair where he's able to sort of visualise 3 or 4 ways that could be shot and directed on the about the brilliance, which is what we see when you see somebody that's a Pisces or has a lot of Pisces in them. They really, really are in their element, working with film and working with video, I suppose, as we work with today, but that very creative side of things. So, Richie Cunningham, we all grew up with you and we all still love you, and we're all still teenagers. So you brought us so many happy days, so we'll move on now. So this week we're going to be featuring what we've been talking about, which was we're talking in Taurus, doing our candle this week, which is the Taurian. So enable you to sort of bring about new opportunities into your life. It's about, if you want to your finances, if you want to sort of get stability in your life, if you want to realise how you are life and sort of slow marginally and find out the things that are important to you, the Taurus is for you. So at least 3 things on your list that you want to draw towards you, and 3 things that maybe you're ready to let go of or are now completed. With our extra large candles, you can see they have 2 wicks. I like to light one side one day and one side the next day. I know that that's important because we get a longer burn time, particularly now we're talking about Taurus. Taurus to say, so make a candle is better for the bank. For those who want to work with an extra large candle, we do have a small set here I've made up this week with 3 Taurian candles. These candles for about 15 hours each. These are great to take into the office or take with you when you're travelling. Or it's the perfect gift box to buy and give somebody as a gift. Or buy a box with your 3 different choices, and then you've got 3 different little individual candles you can give away as a gift. So that's perfect for those people that are looking for something different, especially with Mother's Day coming up here in Australia. So for those of you that don't want to work with a flame of a candle, can I suggest a melt warmer? You take a couple of teaspoons of wax on the first day out and half a teaspoon per day, working in the same principle, writing your little list, popping it underneath your melt warmer. These are electric, so these are great because there is no flame. You can leave these safely going in the office or in the home while you're going about your day-to-day business. You haven't got the worry of a flame. And these are sort of very fastly becoming my favourites because I can have a couple of these going. I have one going in my office for protection, but I can have one in the main part of my house where I'm working with the energy of the week. And that way I don't have to babysit the candle. I can leave this going all day and the fragrance just goes through the candle. So that's really important. But before we take our first caller, I just want to have a little recap with you about what's happening in the universe. Now, look, I've had lots of questions last week in my inbox about, I hear that, the planet Jupiter expansion opportunity has got great or is stuck or isn't working anymore. Now, let's clarify this. The planet Jupiter is currently sitting in Sagittarius, woohoo, because I'm a Sag and I'm really looking forward to spending the rest of my time of this year with Jupiter in my sign, because it's a time that comes about every 12 years, and it's a time of great opportunity and things that can change in your life, as if, you know, Lady Luck is smiling on you. And it's not necessarily saying every Sagittarian on the planet's going to win the lottery under this time frame, but it can be that you can bring to fruition, or you can have new opportunities land in your lap. Now, it's not just affecting Sagittarians, it's affecting every single sign. So there's opportunities that we need to be looking out for. There's things that could happen very quickly, very fast, maybe different to what we imagined. And maybe we've got to set our sights a little bit higher or expand our horizons. Now, when a planet is seen to be going retrograde or backwards in the solar system, what it means is it's in a stationary position. It's not actually moving forward. And it looks to us here on Earth as if the planet is actually moving backwards. So what happens to the energy then of the planet is it doesn't come to a dead standstill and nothing happens. What it means is it's regathering its strength. So for the moment, with Jupiter being retrograde up until about mid to late August from memory, it means that we're sort of going back, we're reanalyzing, we're reigniting the things that we maybe want to change in our lives, or the new opportunities that could come to us. It's sort of like everything was going at a terrific speed forward, and it's now like, let's stop, let's have a breather, let's almost bring in Florian and sort of consolidate everything together so that we can have new opportunities and going forward again. And this should be an opportunity one where we can see things are really starting to finally pay off. So let's hope that that sort of starts to improve the world. I'm sort of hoping that, you know, with the changes and, you know, with so much astrological energy, maybe we can start to bring some peace and opportunities into the world. And, you know, we can get governments to start to settle down and really listen to them instead of feathering their own nests for a change. I know here in Australia we've got an up-and-coming election in the next couple of weeks, and quite frankly I'm sick of it. I think as just about everybody else is too. A lot of people are tuning out and really not paying attention to the politicians, because peddled their wares a little bit too long. So if you're anywhere else in the world and you're facing election, you need but some old-fashioned honesty would go a long way with the voting public. Anyway, we're going to take our first call, which is Sonia in Denver, Colorado. Are you there, Sonia?
I'm here.
Hello, Sonia. How can I help you this evening? Do you have a question? Very well, thank you, darling. Do you have a question for me?
I do. There's a guy that I cannot get out of my head, my mind, my energy space, and I'm just not sure if I'm just being obsessive, compulsive, or is this guy more significant than what I expect?
Okay. When somebody doesn't leave your mind like that, and you're not deliberately getting out of your bed and particularly thinking about that person, you didn't get out of bed and say, right, I'm going to think about Fred today all day, and I'm determined to do that. But when they keep coming into your head, it usually means the connection is not finished. So whatever the situation was, there's still some unfinished business there. Now, I would be more inclined to be looking at when he's coming into your mind randomly and you haven't got out of bed to deliberately think about him, and you're going about your day, and then all of a sudden in comes that wall of energy again and you're starting to think about him again. I would suggest to you that is he's thinking about you. So what you're doing is you're tuning into his energy. I feel he was the one that's still sort of looking what I would term as regretful over the fact that the situation has ended, and I feel he's sort of trying to work out a delicate way that maybe he could get in contact with you and maybe resolve this. I'm not sure that he necessarily wants to come back to you in a full-blown relationship, but I strongly feel that there's unfinished business there. So, no, you're not being OCD. You're not sort of wishful thinking. This is very real. I mean, when something haunts you like this and you try and push it away and you do your best to push it away, then you know that you're tapping into their energy. And it doesn't always mean it's the happily ever after that comes out of it. It's just sometimes as they're working through their processes of working through the situation and trying to come to terms with it, that you're just tuning into that energy. So unless he sort of reaches out and makes some sort of contact with you, my suggestion, Sonia, would be don't act upon this, because you don't want to be seen as being pushy or not letting go of the situation or being OCD, to use your words, you've got to let him be the one to reach out to you. If what I'm seeing is correct, that he's only just trying to work through this, he will in time then fade away and there'll be nothing more. You'll just realise then, oh, gee, it hasn't come into my mind for a week or 10 days and you wonder why. Well, that'll be the reasons why. If the energy gets stronger, then be aware that he's on the way back to contact you. Yes, dear.
We work together and I felt this connection, extreme connection, but he's in a relationship. So I wasn't sure if, I need to let this go, but it won't let go.
All right, well, it makes it more difficult when the two of you are working together and you know the fact that he's in a relationship. Just because he's in a relationship doesn't mean he doesn't feel a connection with you and he's wondering in his mind where that could go and what he should do about it. But again, I want to see you be very professional in that sense. Do you know what I mean? Like, don't step over any sort of lines. Be mindful of the energy because he is thinking of you. It's not a wishful thinking thing, and it's not just because you went to work and you've got this drop-dead gorgeous guy that works there that you think, oh, he's nice. I mean, you would normally be able to get your head around that and say, this is ridiculous. He's married or he's in a relationship. Forget it. He's a nice guy, but let's, keep focused here. And you're struggling to do that, and that's why I know it's coming from him. So, you've got to wait till he's the one that brings it up or, says, let's grab a coffee, we need to talk or whatever. And then I think you need to still be incredibly professional. And I think even if he was to sort of tell you of his undying love for you, I still need to be very cautious about that. He'd need to detangle himself and move out of the situation he's in before you'd move on. You know what I mean? Yeah, you've still got to follow those rules of decency, I think.
Right. Because I don't want to bring up or stir up any kind of karma that's going to come back.
Oh, of course not. No, but we can't stop true love either, and that's sort of one of the difficult things that I think people struggle with. We can be seemingly, going through our lives with no complications, and then all of a sudden somebody like this crosses your path. And all of a sudden it derails what you had going on in your life. And you sort of think, well, I didn't plan this. I didn't get out of bed one day and say, great, I want to go and have an affair. But for some reason this has happened. Now, this is usually meant to be in our life path. How we conduct ourselves and how we behave in this depends how the karma is restructured for the future. Yes, I'm saying acknowledge the fact that the connection's there, but what I'm also suggesting is you don't act upon that until both of you would be free to be able to do so without creating any bad karma or difficult karma for the future. So I hope that's helped you, Sonia. Wonderful. Lovely to talk with you. We're going to go to Nicole in Citrus Heights in California. Are you there, Nicole?
Yes, hello.
Hi, Nicole. How can I help you tonight? Do you have a question for me?
I've got lots of questions. I don't know. Do you do mediumship or?
I do, sweetie, but in this very limited time that we've got, it's not always a guaranteed thing. I'd rather work with a question you want answered if you can, sweetie.
Sure. Okay. My first question would be regarding my health and how that is going.
Okay. Health is one of these tricky questions. Around the world, by laws, we're not allowed to discuss health situations because we're not medical practitioners. What I can tell you is whatever you're doing, keep doing because you seem to be on the right path. Energy and things like that seem to be starting to come back to you, and it's sort of like slowly but surely each day you're starting to feel a little bit more like your old self than what you have done. So whatever you're doing, continue it and just listen to your own body. If it's telling you you're tired, sit down. If it's telling you you can get up and go for a 3-mile hike, then do that too. You know what I mean? It's about listening to what the body's telling you at the moment. The other thing that they were sort of showing me when we were talking about health was, is there a question mark around your job at the moment? I just sort of feel as if there's a big decision around employment, money. Are you looking to change your job? Because that was sort of where they were leading me to, that sort of by making a change will also then flow on back towards the health, will actually make you feel better.
Yes, that actually makes a lot of sense. I'm just having I am having a little bit of thoughts about changing jobs, or it's getting a little bit harder on my body.
Yeah, but they were sort of showing me by making a change, to something else, or, to another company, that will make great inroads with your recovery of getting your body back to where it was. I mean, look, I'm not saying your body's at a dead standstill, but what I'm sort of seeing there is that things aren't quite the way that you want them to be. And even though we've had improvements in the last 12 months, you're getting impatient. You want more. And this is how they were showing me we could speed that process up by making a change of job, because I think the job that you're in is very stressful and it doesn't allow your body to relax after the day's work. It's sort of like I'm still sort of tense and in overdrive all the time, but we need to be able to relax. And, look, I mean, there's all different ways of relaxing. Everybody has a different method, but I think you need to learn to be able to stop. And I think that's the major thing. You've never been the sort of person that's allowed yourself to sit down and rest very often. You know what I mean? You're always looking, I've got to keep going, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, and you're constantly in that action mode instead of saying, okay, I can sit down for 10 minutes and I don't have to explain myself to anyone. I don't have to feel guilty about it. I'm just allowed.
Right.
And that's, I think, your
makes
biggest
so much
problem.
sense.
Yeah, and I think that's your biggest problem. And I don't mean to sound condescending, but I think very action-orientated people sort of feel guilty if they're not constantly doing something. Do you know? It's like, well, I can't get where I need to go unless I'm busy all the time and sort of actively participating. But they fail to realise that having a rest is also a major part of this, because it allows everything to sort of, it allows your muscles to let go. It allows your body to recharge a little bit and all those sort of things. It's not actually a waste of time. It's actually you'll get better performance out of you by allowing yourself that time. So, I mean, look, I'm not a big fan of meditation because I'm one of those very active people like you, and I used to find it really difficult to sit still long enough and switch your mind off and do these things. And I intuitively started meditating in a sense in not sort of taking the actual time, but I'd make myself sit down for 10 minutes before I started work of a day, and I used to have a cup of coffee and a cigarette. I don't smoke anymore, and put some music on the turntable, and I would listen to 2 tracks. And that I used to jokingly say was my meditation, but it was just my way of allowing myself the luxury of sitting down, enjoying the moment before my busy day started. And it was interesting, many years later, I learned that is a form of meditation. And that was something I jokingly used to teach my students, that was my meditation, 10 minutes of, cigarette, cup of coffee and John Farnham on the turntable, and the day was all good to go. So sometimes I think we've got to find little methods like that work for us. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's what you need to do. And by doing that, Nicole, I think great inroads with your health. But I also want you to listen to what your body's telling you. If your body's telling you you need to eat tomatoes, then eat them. It doesn't always have to be, we have to be rigid. We have to listen to what it's telling us that we need. And sometimes that isn't, I'm not an advocate for sort of saying, well, if your body's telling you it's craving something sweet and salty, that you sit down and eat a big block of candy or chocolate and then follow it by a big bag of potato chips. But I think you can have a little bit of something to satisfy whatever that is. And usually when we get a craving, it's our body's way of telling us we're nutrient deficient in something. It's craving something. And usually when we crave something sweet, we're actually craving magnesium, strangely enough. So it's sort of like, the body doesn't tell us these things for no reason. We just have to listen. And once we do that and we get things back into a rhythm, I believe then we start to heal. And, most illnesses are something that's dis-ease in the body. It's usually got an emotional connection in some way. Whether we acknowledge it or not, we all have weaknesses, I suppose, in our physical DNA that we inherit as we come into this earth. There's family histories of things, whether it's heart disease or autoimmune diseases or toenails that turn black. Every family has something in their DNA. But if we can learn to minimise that by keeping ourselves as stress-free as possible, listening to our body, allowing our bodies to rest, then I think we can minimise those things. If you know that there's a serious pattern of heart disease in your family, then you research that and you do everything humanly possible to minimise that. So if you look at those sort of things, then I think we can have great health way into our old age because we've learned to listen to our. And stress is probably the biggest thing that we all tend to sort of, poo-hoo that a bit and think, oh, yeah, that's for other people, not me. But it is one of the biggest things I think that instigates illness in our body is that we're not relaxing ourselves enough. So I hope that's helped you, Nicole.
I'm sorry, what was that last part?
What, sweetie?
I couldn't understand that very last part. I'm sorry.
I said, I hope that's helped you. I hope that's helped you, put all the pieces together with the changes that you need.
Oh, yes. That all makes a lot of sense. And do you see an actual job change for me?
I do see a change of job for you by about August. But before August or around August is when I see the job change for you. And then I think we sort of fly into the end of the year. As each day goes past, I feel that you're getting stronger and feeling better in yourself, Nicole.
Okay. And then do you have any messages for me at all from any of my loved ones, anything like that?
Nobody actually came forward. That doesn't mean that they're not there around you. Nobody sort of jumped in and said, hey, I want to share this with Nicole. So just know that they're always around you. And, sometimes they're just busy being themselves. They don't always want to poke their nose into our day-to-day lives here on Earth either. Anyway, Nicole, that's where we've got to wrap it up. We're coming to the end of the show. So next week we'll be sort of talking and having our little trip around the universe, our Simply Tarot card of the week. And, of course, we'll be featuring our candle of the week. For those of you that want to know more about how the sun in Taurus will affect you, head over to Facebook to my Amanda Hall page. I'll be doing a mini workshop there directly after the end of this broadcast. For those of you that like to qualify for a free astrology chart, head to my website, www.amandahallpsychic.com.au. And until next week, why don't you shine like a star? The little star that I'm featuring this morning on my necklace is actually the David Cassidy star. And the money that you spend buying an earring set and the necklace set actually goes to helping children enjoy music in their lives. So it's absolutely a wonderful cause. And of course, David Cassidy was an amazing singer and I miss him every single day, but I always have him on the turntable too. So until next week, bye for now.